Hi, welcome to the Kindle Chronicles. I'm Len Edgerly. Today is Saturday, September 18th, and in Season 2 of the show, the episodes will be uploaded not necessarily only on Friday, but I've been working on this one since, day before yesterday, Friday, with Darlene, and I think it might be ready to go up tonight. I'm not sure. This is a change of pace from last week's interview with Cynthia Bourgeot, a Christian mystic on the coast of Maine, who I enjoyed speaking with. I decided to return to a topic involving the Kindle because Darlene was having a lot of problems with the new update of the software, which is 15.3.7. And so I've got three parts to this podcast. The first, you're going to hear Darlene talk about why she was so irritated and frustrated with this latest update of the Kindle software. Now, this is the update for the e-ink Kindles. It doesn't affect the smartphones or the iPads or the tablets. It's strictly for the e-ink Kindles. And then I'm going to give you the benefit of some analysis I did on what exactly is going on with this new update, particularly with an eye to the concerns that Darlene had expressed. And then after that, she'll return to the show and we will have an online contemporaneous coaching session where I will see if I can get her a little more comfortable with using this update for the way that she reads her Kindle. So let's start in with the conversation I recorded yesterday with Darlene to sort of set the table on this issue of the latest e-ink update. I want the details of the trauma.
I probably had just finished a book.
We were in Maine.
It was fine. Everything was fine.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I knew, I opened my Kindle, and it should have gone right to a list of the books that I haven't read yet. But there was just this page of all these little squares, probably of the covers of books, and they didn't make any sense, and I couldn't even really read them. And
what did you do?
I think I hit the home, but that was the home.
Oh.
And then
You couldn't go home.
I couldn't go home. I felt like I always feel with technology, like I was losing.
I think I was there in the room at the time, and I heard this growling coming from the bed.
You were busy doing something else and in no position to help me, so I just shut my book and went to bed.
You never get to read the next book?
No. And then the next day, I asked for help.
Did you get any?
I can't remember if it took a day or what.
Well, now you're 97% through a book at this point.
I'm 99%.
And you still agreed to talk with me. That's amazing.
And I put that book down, and I came up here to talk to you,
which
is
true love.
True love.
Well, how did you get to that book? It's not the book that you were finished reading when you discovered that this change had been made.
I think you did something, so I saw some books, but it still seemed confusing to me.
Right.
So I think that I was reading this book at some point, and I was going to change to another book because I wasn't really that happy with the book, but I couldn't figure out how to change to another book, which was really frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went back to reading this book, and now I'm almost done. So it's good that I finished it. But,
of the book you didn't think you liked.
Right. But,
yeah. But now you're coming up on finding the next book. That could be a challenge.
I know. I'm not really happy about that.
What else is different that is perplexing?
Well, it's just different. I don't know what else is different. I told you what I want from my Kindle is something reliable, something where I buy a book. I usually buy it on my computer. It goes into my Oasis. I open my Oasis. There's no ads or anything. It goes to my homepage, and there's a list, no pictures, just a list of the books that I haven't read. And then I can click on one and I start reading. And
they're ranked by the most recently added.
Right. Right.
And no pictures of the covers.
Right. No pictures of the covers, and I don't want anything else. I just want
You don't want
that.
collections. You don't want different kinds of books organized.
No. I mean, I don't mind if they go into collections after I've read them, but that was the other thing, is it looked like it was putting things in collections, but it wasn't flagging that. You had to open the collections to figure out what books were in there and which ones you had read, which was really frustrating because I couldn't really tell, like, if a new book had come in on that collection. So that was not helpful. And anyway, I mean, I really rely on this to be a low-tech, fabulous way that, I mean, just it's like I have a stack of books by my bed, and that's what they are in my Kindle. And I just want to pick the next book and open it up and start reading it, and I don't want any of this other stuff that is supposed to be so helpful that just, makes it complicated.
In my first comparing of the two, it seems like one thing they're trying to do is put a bunch of new books out there that you might like based on your previous reading. And is that of value to you?
Well, I buy my books on my computer, and if I went into my computer on Amazon or whatever, and I had the option to get some of that information, I might be interested in that. But no, I don't want it on my Kindle. On my Kindle, I just want my books.
You don't want to be looking for your next book on your Kindle. You'd rather do that on your computer.
Right.
So that's kind of wasted
right.
effort on their part to put that on the Kindle for you.
Yeah, I think they're giving you stuff you haven't asked for. And that's sort of annoying.
Sometimes when somebody redesigns a web page, they'll say, click here if you want the old way of doing it. Do you think that would have been a good idea for them to do?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right.
I would have totally clicked on the old way of
doing it.
doing
That doesn't seem to be an option here.
No,
you were being dragged into the future.
Well, that's usually how it is. That's why you don't do updates on computers or anything.
No, you should do updates.
No, you don't, because, I mean...
There are these 0-day hacks that can come in if you don't update. Who knows? The Russians could be getting into your Mac.
Yeah, but the thing is, you do that update and you might never be able to use it again because you can't figure it out.
Who cares if the Russians hacked it?
Exactly.
You can't use it
Leave
anyway.
it the way it is, and I can at least use it, so... I mean, there's people who like technology, and then there's people who, really struggle with technology, and I suppose there's a few in between. But for the people who struggle with technology, it's really sort of devastating when something changes and you haven't asked for it to change, and you can't kind of make heads or tails of it.
It's like a betrayal.
Yeah. And I didn't know it was coming. I think that was the other thing.
You thought the Kindle was your friend.
I thought it was safe, and then all of a sudden I opened it and I couldn't navigate it. I was like, oh no.
It's like the three bears. Who's been eating my porridge? Who's been messing with my Kindle?
I don't know. It just was very unsettling.
All right, so this is the prelude to this episode, which is going to be about the ins and outs of...
You're going to teach me how to use this.
Right, but what do you want me to teach you once I've...
How to put it backward the way it was.
I can't do that.
That's
sorry.
what I want to know.
I used to have Jeff Bezos on my speed dial, but no more, so
But you can probably set settings and things. I don't know.
No.
Sophie's
I can find the list view of your books so that you're not looking at covers. I think that's something I can do.
Right.
And... I guess that would be, but I should try to find the settings that make it look most like the way it used to for you.
Right.
And then just set those up and hopefully they wouldn't change.
And then other things like, when you share a book with me, I'm not seeing that go to my most recent purchase.
Okay,
because
I'll
I
check
haven't
that.
purchased
it should.
So it just
I see, because if it's in my library, maybe... Your Kindle just sees it as a book that showed up in my library a month ago, and if I just...
Well, I don't know, but you'll send a book to me, and then I never read it because I can't find it. Because I don't remember the name, but if it would go to my list, then I would, eventually click on it and start reading it, or maybe I remember something about it or whatever, but I rarely remember a title or an author enough to be able to go find it. And
there's a good find thing. So maybe if I'm doing that, I should just warn you, say, look, I just sent you this book. It's called People You Meet in the Summer.
Right.
And then if you searched for it then, it would show up as the most recent book.
Yeah,
on
if
your
I
list.
open the page, then it will go to my most recent, and
That'd be a
I'll
way
see
I
it.
could help
Yeah,
solve
that'd be
that
great.
problem.
That's great.
There may be other problems I can't solve.
Turn back
But
time.
I'm going to do my darndest.
Oh gosh, I know it sounds so stupid, but it really. I mean, and then when we were helping, your friends, and they were getting new Kindles, and I thought, oh, I just feel so sorry for them with this change. And I thought about my sister, and I mean, I suppose there's a lot of people that like this boy, but when I kind of search through the people in my life, most of them will not like this. This will just be a stumbling block
Yeah.
for them being able to use their Kindle.
There's been some pushback I've seen online. There's been a fair number of complaints about it.
Well, if you figure it all out and can explain it to all of us, I mean, I'm sure we can.
Oh, I don't have to. I thought I was just explaining it to you. I've got a whole group of people I have to explain it to.
I think you should.
Wait, I have a podcast.
That's right. Put it on
We can
the
send them
podcast.
the link.
We will, and who knows if they'll listen. But hey,
No, wait. Here's an episode about the Kindle.
here's one that's actually practical.
This is one from Mark Roberts. He was saying, why, I wish there was a podcast that would explain this to me.
I'm with you, Mark. This other stuff's a little airy-fairy for me. It's like, let's get
I think
practical.
season 2 could just go anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It could be, nuts and bolts, how to read your Kindle or how to join the cosmic consciousness.
Yeah. You're kind of an unguided missile at this point, aren't you?
I now have my marching orders. I'm going to spend some time with making notes on my remarkable tablet. And I have to do a little technical bragging here. I know you can pretend to be interested. I found an old Kindle.
Oh, look at
Well,
that nice little
Yeah,
one.
but it's a basic Kindle. It's not an Oasis.
Can I use it?
Yes, you can be. Well, you can't. See, the thing is,
What?
when I opened it up, it had 15.3.6, which is the old version, on it.
Yeah.
And I put it on
There you
airplane
go.
mode. I downloaded a couple of books just to see what they would look like, but then I quick put it on airplane mode. So this one has not been updated. But it's useless because you have to have it.
As soon as you turn it on, it's going to update.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, I don't
Even
know.
a non-tech person like me can figure that out.
You know more than you pretend. Maybe what you could do is you could use this one and you could sort of
would I use
sneak
it?
your books on here like in 30-second things. You go in, grab a book, and then put it back on airplane mode. And then Amazon would keep trying to update this Kindle. And they say, there's one Kindle in Cambridge,
'cause-
Mass, and we can't update it.
Because if it's on airplane mode, you still can read on it.
Yeah,
as long as
but,
you leave it on
but you have to
airplane mode.
leave on airplane mode to go get the book
Right.
really quick.
Yeah.
And then
they're
put it back on
fast.
airplane mode.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't work.
They'd have somebody just waiting for the
Such a
stragglers.
cute little Kindle, though.
Oh, yeah, it's very nice.
Wow.
I mean, it doesn't
used
have
to-
buttons, you know.
We used to use these.
Yeah, it's like the old days.
Wow. They keep making them bigger. I like the small.
Yeah. And it's got a front light, you know, so.
Yeah. No, it's
Well,
good.
I mean, this is available if you if I can't help you to use the Oasis in a way you like.
You just can't get my books on it.
Yeah. I think it would be fun because we could just sort of sneak books onto it and see how many years you could stay at 15.3.6 as Kindle keeps trying to update you.
Gosh, yeah.
You'd probably get an email from Jeff saying, Darlene, we're trying to update your Kindle. Would you please take it off airplane mode?
I think there's a lot of people like me. He's not going to find me because there's too many of us.
There's too many. Well, yeah, he's moved on to space, so
That's right.
this would be Andy Jassy's problem.
Well, good. Well, thank you for this, and I'm looking forward to having you fix it.
Stay tuned. Now, you're going to have to stay up late enough tonight to record
What?
the lesson.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Next week.
Well, I mean,
What's
it
the
doesn't.
rush?
There's no rush. I do this whenever I want, but I kind of thought I'd get it out tomorrow or something. We could maybe do it tomorrow.
Just let me get through my 1%.
Okay, you can finish your book, walk your dog, we'll play with Sophie in the yard. I'll do the lesson tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. When you're fresh,
There you go.
you'll get your lesson on how to navigate.
Oh, boy. Just fix it.
Stay tuned.
Oh, gosh. This is going to be bad. Come on, Sophie, dear.
So before I invite Darlene back up to the lab to see if I can help her use the new update, I want to give you just some background about it that I've learned, and also just from my own experience. This new update for the Kindle software was released, I think, in August, and it applies to the past 6 years of Kindle devices: Oasis, Basic Kindle, Paperwhite, and that goes back. It includes the Kindle that Darlene is reading on, which is actually an Oasis 8th generation. It was a smaller version of it, which she preferred to the current Oasis, and that one was released in July of 2016. So her Oasis was almost old enough that it might not have gotten this latest update, but unfortunately for her, it did receive it. And also my Oasis, which is the 10th generation, and that came out in 2019, it has the new update as well. In general, what this redesign of the Kindle interface is, it's very much like the design which was brought to iPhones, iPads, the iOS applications, Kindle apps, back in October of 2017. And at that time, I had a chance to interview two of the Kindle team executives, Seth Micarelli and Michael Torres, about exactly what they were doing with this major update of the iOS interface. And I remember this, it was pretty, I was impressed with the work that had gone into it. It made some kind of fundamental changes to the way you navigated your books on an iPhone or an iPad. And it now, you can see sort of echoes of that same kind of design in the new Kindle update. Probably the one which is most apparent as I think about how it's looking from Darlene's point of view, when you open up the iOS app, you see two views. One is called Home and one is called Library. And now on the Kindle app, you have a similar choice along the bottom of the page. And whichever view is current, the one that you're looking at, it will be underlined. So if you see the word Home underlined, it means you're looking at the Home view. And if you see Library underlined, it means you're looking at the Library view. Home includes a link to your Kindle library. So if you start out at Home, you can pretty quickly get to a view of all of your books. But the other thing that the Home page is designed to do is to help you find the next book that you want to read, the kind of the discover function. And I think it's been kind of beefed up in this view of the Kindle, because on my Oasis 10th generation, I can scroll down the home screen and I can find Kindle Unlimited books. I can find books based on a book that I was reading recently by Thomas Merton, and a lot of different ways of saying, hey, Len, you might be interested in these particular books. And when I've drilled down into them, they're uncanny. I mean, there's a ton of books that, yes, I would very much be interested in reading some of these books that they're presenting to me on the sort of page after page view of possible books to read on the home screen. But as Darlene said, that's of no interest to her, because when she buys books, she buys them on her computer. And, you know, if there was a handy way at that moment, when she's finished a book, she's gone to her computer, she's looking for another book, she might be interested in seeing some of that Discover stuff, but she doesn't want to see it on her Kindle itself. So the fix to that, we'll see how well it works when she comes up here, is if you tap on Library so that the word Library is underlined, not Home, and then you make one more change, which I'll tell you about. It looks very much like what she's used to on the older format. And there's really no reason she ever has to look at the home view, because if she's in Library View and then she closes up her Oasis, the next time she opens her Oasis, it will return her to the Library View. So everything will pretty much look like what she's used to seeing. The Library View shows you all of your Kindle books, and they're divided into those that are on your specific Kindle device, whichever kind it is, and those that are in the cloud. And the way those are referred to on the view that you see when you're in library mode is all is equal to the cloud. If you think of every book you've ever bought from Amazon for your Kindle, and you want to see all of those, they're up in the cloud, because some of them might be on your device, but all of them are going to be up in the cloud, and that's why the word all tells you how to get there. And then you can search through, you can find a specific book, and then if you want to bring it down to your Kindle, you just tap on it and it comes down. So the other category is simply downloaded, and if that is tapped, then you'll see all of the Kindle books that are on the device that you're actually reading on right now. There's some other tools for navigating the library. I'm not going to burden Darlene with some of these, but you might be interested. You can filter, and then there's also a view or sort capability. Filter enables you to see in either of these views, all or downloaded, which books are Kindle Unlimited, or which ones have been borrowed from the library, which ones are read, which ones are unread, which ones are books, Audible books, or newsstand subscriptions, or documents. You can kind of sort what you want to see when you have that library view. Then when it gets to the view tool, that has fewer options, and they're going to be important for Darlene, as you'll see. You can look at it as a grid or a list, and she was seeing grid and she didn't like it. That's where you see the covers of the books. So I'm going to switch hers to list. That way each book is just a line on a list, and you can see more at a time, and you can read them. Sometimes the covers are pretty, but you just can't see what the title is. And then if you use collections, which she doesn't, that's another view. And then the other choice that you have in the view tool is, do you want to see your books listed with the most recent that you've opened on top, or maybe you want to see them alphabetically by title or by author or publication date. She clearly wants to see the most recent ones that she's opened be at the top of the list. I'll share some of my own reactions to this new update. And by the way, I was just listening to what I recorded. The neighbors next door who moved into my daughter's house have got young kids, and they are having a great time this afternoon. So I'm sorry that there's a little bit of background noise that I'm picking up here as I record at about 5:30. What I like about this update is something that's kind of bugged me for a long time, ever since the Kindle platform started spreading out to different devices and apps. And that's, I like it when the way I read on an iPhone is similar to the way I read on an Oasis or on a Kindle Fire. I don't like it that there are pretty dramatic changes in the way the book looks depending on which device you're using. This change, I think, brings the iOS and the Kindle versions of it closer together. So I think that's a good thing. But there are still some significant differences. One that I checked to see if they might have fixed it is still different on the iOS app than it is on the Kindle. And that's if you highlight a sentence at the bottom of a page and you want to carry that highlight over to the next page. On the Kindle app, on the e-ink devices, if you hold your finger down so that it's toward the bottom right corner, it will spread that highlight just to the end of the current sentence or the next sentence at the top of the page. And that's handy because if I'm doing a highlight, I'm not likely to want to actually highlight the entire next page from where I started the highlight. So I think that's a pretty handy improvement that they made to the highlighting process on the Kindle e-ink. On the iOS app, if you start a highlight at the bottom of one page, you drop your finger down to the lower right, and then so it knows you're hopping over to the next page, it will highlight the entire next page. I use yellow for my highlights. So then what I have to do if I don't want that whole page highlighted, I have to draw my finger up the screen and stop it at the place that is the natural place for the highlight to be. So to me, there's no reason that in learning how to highlight, I should have to remember that it works differently on an iPhone than it does on an Oasis. So there's more work to be done. I think the reason these happen is, and there's some benefits to it, there are dedicated teams, as I understand it, working on the iOS app for Kindle, working on the Fire tablet, working on the Kindle tablet. I'm sure they communicate with each other, and there are some people that are responsible for making sure that there is some consistency. But a lot of innovation takes place because they've got these two pizza teams, and they don't necessarily all have to report to one Kindle czar that makes sure that everything is exactly the same. So pluses and minuses in either direction. The other thing I like about this update is it's cleaner. To me, it's less cluttered when you're looking at the library page view in particular. There's just fewer choices along the top. And now that you can pull down more choices by touching sort of a wide caret at the top of it. So I think it's a nicer look. And that's always kind of easier on the eyes. One thing I did notice in passing is that in the old version of the Kindle design, Goodreads had a pretty terrific piece of real estate in that the Goodreads logo was right along the top. So when you're making your choices, if you wanted to see what was being said about that particular book on Goodreads, you would just tap on the G, and it was right next to the shopping cart, and you'd be able to go straight to Goodreads. Now you can get to Goodreads very quickly, but you have to tap on settings before you can get to Goodreads. And I imagine, I don't know if Otis Chandler's team was involved in that part of the design. They might have been disappointed at it, but I was checking to see how Goodreads has done since it was acquired by Amazon in 2013. In 2013, Goodreads had 10 to 20 million readers, and currently, or as of mid-2019, it's up to over 90 million readers. So, and I remember when people that had problems with Amazon said, Goodreads was such a great little independent site, and now Amazon's going to ruin it in some way, and we should all leave Goodreads. And there was, I think some people thought they would just see a diminishment of the number of members on Goodreads. That didn't happen. It went from about 10 million to about 90 million since the acquisition in 2013. So we'll see if Darlene can come up now, and I've got a 5-point tutorial that I hope will make her more comfortable with 5.13.7, the latest Kindle update. Are you ready for your 5-point tutorial that is going to solve all of your problems with 5.13.7?
I'll try to be positive.
All right. Well, I have some very good news for you. You know how you didn't like the view that showed the covers and all of the books that they want you to buy and all that?
Right, yes.
You don't ever have to look at that again.
Wow, great.
Because as you look, we're open. We've got your Oasis here, mm-hmm. and on the left it says Home, mm-hmm. and the library is underlined. So what you're looking at now is the library view of your Kindle. And unless you want to go back and look at what they're recommending, just don't ever touch Home.
Oh, really?
Yep. And when you're done reading, we're going to close the cover.
Yeah, right.
And when you open it up, you might worry that it's going to show you Home, but mm-hmm. it remembers that you don't like Home, and it just always opens on Library.
Wow, that's great.
And then the other problem we fixed was with this button. You don't have to know how we did it, but instead of the grid view, which is where you see all the covers, I just made list view, and you never have to make that change again. So when you look at your library, you're going to see a nice clean list view, and never
recent,
and you're never going to, and recent is what you want, because that's always going to put at the top of the list the ones that you've sort of had something to do with most recently.
So does that mean, like, when you share a book with me, will that go on my recent list, or will that just go into my library?
Okay, let's go to that. That's point 4, but we'll jump ahead to it. Try to follow the student here to make this really sort of user. We're following the user. So if I send you a book like that one that I've sent people you meet on vacation.
Yeah, that we never get, yes.
What happens is it's like I have a library in the cloud, you have a library in the cloud.
Right.
I'm moving it from my cloud library to your cloud library, but it's not on your Oasis yet.
Right.
So to find it, you see up here where it goes, there's all or downloaded.
Yeah.
And downloaded is highlighted now. It's bold. That means what you're looking at is only the books that are on this Kindle. There's nothing in the cloud that you can see as long as downloaded is touched.
Okay.
So try touching all. Okay, so now you're looking at all of the books in your archive, and you see there's 295 pages of books. But the good news is we've got them sorted by recent. So, and, you know, it would be helpful if I would say, look, the book that I just sent you is People We Meet on Vacation. So you want to kind of look at that.
Right.
But just try scrolling a couple of pages, see if you can find it. There, right there. You see it? People We Meet on Vacation.
Okay.
So since you're in the all view of your library,
Touch it.
just touch the title.
Okay. I have a feeling that's what I was supposed to do.
Yep. And see, now at first it says queued. Now it's downloading. And once it's downloaded, okay, so now it's downloaded. Go back to downloaded. And it's probably going to be at the top of the list, I think. Yep. So now it's on the top of your list of books that are actually on your Kindle.
Okay.
But it's sort of a two-step process. You know, if I've got a book, I
That
say,
makes
hey,
sense.
I just sent you a title. Here's the title.
Right.
Switch to all, find it, put it on your Kindle.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, that's totally doable.
And then the other thing that you said is that when you buy books, you buy them on your computer.
Right.
And I think that when you're buying a book, you can say, send it to Darlene's Oasis.
Right.
So that means if you've got downloaded selected here in view of your library, it'll just show up at the top of the list.
Okay, and so then it's still in my library too.
It's both places.
Oh,
It's in the
both
cloud
places.
and on the
Okay.
yeah. And I think that when you buy a book, that's a place where you can say, all right, I've just bought this book, and then it says kind of where do you want it to go. And is that when you say go to Darlene's Oasis, or do you do it sort of from the
Well, it
manager?
actually goes to the library. You have to change it to say Darlene's Oasis if
Yeah.
you want it to go there.
Right.
And then if I'm going to send it to somebody else, like maybe Deb,
Yeah.
then I need to go into my content devices and then find the book.
Oh, yeah.
And then send it to her.
Send it to her device, yeah.
Right. So I can't. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you got...
Still a two-step process with
you got
my
the-
computer.
Right. Okay, so then the last thing you mentioned is that you felt like you had a lot of books that you've read, and you've got 17 pages. These are all, since we're on the downloaded thing,
Right.
you got 17 pages of books that you've read and you probably don't want them. So I thought I'd just show you how to get rid of them. You have to kind of do it one by one. But
Right.
like, do you want to get rid of Water from My Heart by
Yes.
Charles Martin?
Yes.
So tap and hold. No, just tap and... No, you opened it. Okay. All right, now go back to library. Yeah. Now he's going to be at the top because it's the last one you opened. Okay, so tap and hold. Just press and hold till something happens. There you go. Now tap on Remove Download. And it'll make sure that... Oh, I guess it didn't... Yeah. So anything you want to do... I think you're still reading that one, so you don't want to get rid of that.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, goodness, yeah.
Yeah, so you could do the next one the same way. So, 16 pages, you've got a fair amount of tap and
Oh,
holding to
that
do.
one's not done yet. I thought I was done with that one. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so, okay.
Tap and hold. Remove download. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, this is, you can see what books you've read because of...
Well, it's just nice to get rid of the ones I've read and get them out of there.
Yeah,
And then,
they're still in the cloud. I mean,
Right.
other people can read them. And so that is your 5-point tutorial. Do you have any other questions? Now she's gotten involved in removing downloads. I think we've lost her.
it's true. I'm so happy I know how to do something. It's like, oh, okay, I'm getting rid of those.
So are you feeling a little better about 5.13.7?
Yeah. What about all the other poor people?
Well, you can send them to the Kindle Chronicles, and they will have it revealed.
I know, but you almost need to do a video so you can show them how it looks and how it changes and everything.
That might be a good idea. We could do a video together.
Well,
Oh.
together's maybe too strong of a word.
All right. Well,
Thank you very much. This has really been helpful.
wow. That's all the pay I need.
Time for supper.
Time for supper. This is Len Edgerly and his ace student, Darlene, for the Kindle Chronicles in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.